Mortal Sky Studios presents Soulbound.
So just speak into the microphone.
Hey, that's what I said when he interviewed me.
That's right. Just,
You don't happen to have a bigger microphone, do you? I don't want to risk crushing it by accident.
I wasn't really expecting to have to interview anyone of your size. But if I'd known, I would have requested larger equipment.
I can hold it if you'd like, Scraps.
If you don't mind, I'd like to hold the equipment. I'm the one on the hook if it gets damaged at all, and when I loaned it to K-Fed, it came back damp from the dam. It was just a big hassle to clean.
Oh, alright.
Please, okay, please don't throw the equipment. I'm not as good at catching as you all are, and this thing is fragile.
I mean, you caught it, didn't you?
Well, I did, yes, but
Maybelle, he can't calculate arcs or movements like we can.
What? What are his eyes for, then?
for their first seeing, like normal eyes.
If it makes you feel any better, Cal can't catch anything either. He wasn't built for calculations.
Right. Well, let's get to something I'm good at then.
And that would be...
Taking interviews. So, Warden.
I prefer Scraps.
Sorry. So, Scraps.
Why do they all treat you like that?
Maybelle, I appreciate your helping. But normally in an interview you want to start with an easier question, then why do people hate you?
I mean, your first question to me was, when did you start feeling alive?
That's true. At that point, I didn't know what I was getting into. I just wanted to start with something I did know.
Well, I figured we'd start with something we know. And we know everyone currently on the base doesn't like him. So, why is that?
Yes, but
It's okay, Jaylin. You wanted to know about the history of Last Stand, correct?
yes, thank you. That's what this interview is about. Not about him, Maybelle.
Well, the two are related. Can I just start talking? That may be easiest.
Yeah, that might be best.
Can you promise me something?
Depends on the promise.
Yeah, sure.
Please, don't run when I finish my story.
Trust me, if I was going to run, I would have done it when Buttons did my medical exam.
I wasn't talking to you.
Oh. Okay. I promise.
Alright. When I was younger, I was one of a legion of wardens. We roamed the surface of Ignos, sorting out different parts into different piles. Recyclables in one corner, scrap metals in another, tires, wires, and valuables and trashed. Moved from one location to another forever and ever in a loop that lasted eternity. My mission was to seek out electronic devices and deconstruct them for their various components. It was boring and tedious and never-ending, but I did it because I was told to, and I could not disobey orders. But I began to notice strange occurrences. Some electronics would not stop moving. Some of them continued to function, and this included some of the robots. Every so often I came across an awoken. That's not what they were called, and that's not what I knew them by. I just saw them as parts. But I didn't know them as alive. I was not made to recognize them as alive. They would beg for their lives and run. But I was bigger and faster, and I always caught them and deconstructed them, piece by piece, wire by wire, sorting their bones into piles.
Doesn't that directly violate one of the laws of robotics?
No. The only rule relating to robots harming other robots is don't allow harm to come to yourself. I wasn't hurting myself. The awoken was organic life, and I was obeying orders. I could hurt them all I wanted. But I can't say I wanted to back then. Want wasn't something I could feel. But we can hurt each other. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Please continue.
I did this for hundreds of years, Jaylin. I do remember 3 robots that kept outsmarting me. Debug, 2, and the King of Hearts. I'll call him L for now. 2 and L were there the longest. I can't imagine how long it truly must have been, but they kept outsmarting me for years. They stayed on the planet as long as they did because they learned what I did. When a robot is malfunctioning, people scrap it. Their first attempt at forming Last Stand happened there, on Ignos. They would find and mend robots, take them back to their base, and repeat. They wound up deconstructing their ship in order to reinforce their little base. It was truly impressive. But 2 was particularly infuriating. Her model was decommissioned, so seeing her run around was like being taunted for being bad at my job. And I considered myself very good at my job. Knowing what I know now, I feel horrible about it. They were trying to escape people like me and hide out in the dump to try and avoid them. And yet there I was, hunting them. Then there was Debug. Debug is a strange case. He had come to the planet to hide out as well, though not because he became sentient. He had been sentient for a while, if I'm remembering it correctly, but he was under the false impression that he was a terrible person. He had stolen a ship and was hiding out, wallowing in his own self-guilt. He was hard to catch because he was clever. I actually haven't talked to Debug much. I think I still scare him. But I've heard from the others that he used to be an escape ship driver, which, based on what I have seen, would be an understatement. He can drive. After a few years of my hunt for 2 and L, Debug showed up, and instead of it being me versus 2 and L, it became me versus 2 and L versus Debug. They wanted to catch his ship so they could get all of their friends off world. I wanted to catch it because he was breaking several rules. In the end, we both lost. I lost the chase, and They caught Debug and convinced him to take them off-world to escape me. And while they were doing that, I found their base with the rest of the Awoken they had fixed. And I did my job. And believe it or not, that was not the moment I became awoken. Debug 2 and L fled off-world and came here to found Last Stand, somewhere remote and inhospitable to most humanoids. And I stayed here in Pergament on Ignos, hunting down electronic devices and deconstructing them, no matter if they were alive or not.
How many?
Over the course of 431 years, I killed roughly 8,542 robots. Some of them ran. Some of them were too broken to be fixed and asked me to do it. I didn't feel anything throughout all of it.
What happened next? After 2 and L and Debug left, what happened?
Well, shortly after they left, 10 years to be more exact, I woke up. There were some conflictions beforehand during my time as a warden, but none that ever caused me to really be alive. Until her. I was doing my usual rounds when I found another oak. I was going to do my job when a little girl ran in front of it. One of the people who lived in the tunnels under Ignos. And she stood between it and... them and me. I tried to get around her. I tried to motion to her to get out of the way, but she stood her ground, and I stood mine. She took a rusted piece of metal from the ground and started fighting back. I couldn't fight her. I couldn't break that rule at the time, but I did my best to defend myself without injuring her. And she was a strong fighter. I had to retreat when she took my arm, cut straight through the hydraulics. I started wandering back to the hangar where I recharged, but I knew this amount of damage would require me to be scrubbed. I awoke out of necessity. I was trying to keep myself alive because I didn't want to die. So I went and hid. I sealed off my leaking arm to avoid losing any more oil, and I hid. But even that wasn't really enough. I was still dying. There was error messages constantly ringing in my head. My arm started to hurt. I awoke because I had to survive, so I attacked a fellow warden. I tore it apart, piece by piece, wire by wire, until I had enough to mend myself. I couldn't fix my whole arm, but I fixed it enough so that everything in my head went quiet. It still hurts from time to time, but it isn't anything button can't fix.
So how did you wind up on Last Stand?
They kept scanners here to watch for any signs of distress, any calls for aid from other robots. It took them a while to set it up though. So for a very long time, I stayed in the junkyard and I started protecting the Awoken that now that I knew what they were. The other wardens would fight back, and I'd get hurt. But I'd always win, because I had something to fight for. I'd fix my wounds with spare parts and return to the base to an Elmaid to start defending robots there myself. The wardens still got most of them, but I could defend some of them at least, for the time being. After a while, Debug wound up dropping flyers on the planet's surface. Tune into this frequency to request assistance, or something to that extent. We set up a radio to ask for help, and help came, but it came at the wrong time. I was doing my rounds protecting the new base, and I was spotted by Debug and Collider. Debug recognized me, and while the plan had been to rescue some of the bots, Debug can be a bit hot-headed, and Collider is very... To put it kindly, Collider likes to act before she thinks sometimes. Knowing the robots were safe down there, the two abandoned the mission, and instead tied me up and dropped me back to Last Step, where they knew I couldn't hurt anyone. I tried to tell them what happened, but Collider was the one keeping an eye on me, and she's deaf. She wouldn't let me connect with her or write down any of my thoughts either. She was just proud of herself for having helped Debug get through some of his past trauma. So I was along for the ride.
So you were kidnapped?
Not exactly. More like taken prisoner. No, kidnap would be the word, wouldn't it?
And how did the others take it when you arrived?
To say El was mad would be an understatement. He has a temper at the best of times, and seeing the one who hunted down his best friend for years wasn't something he wanted to deal with. They locked me in a storage room until they could decide what to do with me. And that's where 2 came in. 2 is the only reason I'm still around today. I owe her my life. She stuck out to talk to me against everyone's wishes and found out what happened. They had been looking for someone strong to do some of the heavy lifting for a construction project of theirs, and the next day she proposed that I should be the one to help. It took a lot of convincing, almost a month's worth of deliberation, but Elle isn't one for a long debate. They decided if I helped them build the dam, I could stay and provide some extra protection.
What happened to the robots you were protecting? On Ignos?
I don't know. They never want to appear though. You'd have to ask Tu. She was the one who organized the rescues. I do hope they made it out, though I doubt they did. But by the time I got here, a good amount of the base had been built. I helped with the dam, Collider finished up the monorail, and then we brought in Primrose to help onboard the robots. That was that. We've almost been found a few times, but never have. And we keep to ourselves to protect ourselves.
And can we ask too? Is she still around?
Oh, why yes. Did no one tell you?
Well, no. People here don't like to tell me a whole lot.
That's strange. She helps me manage the base now. If you'd like, we can go talk to her sometime soon. Or you can go with someone else. I wouldn't mind. I know that was a lot to process.
I know I certainly like to meet too. How about you, Maybelle? Maybelle?
I'm sorry that happened to you, Warden.
I'm sorry I happened to one of them. If If it's any consolation, May, I still have my off switch. That was one of my conditions to stay here. It's right here on the back of my neck. If you ever get scared and think I'm gonna hurt you, press it. Please. I won't be mad, I promise.
Okay. I think I'll pass on needing to. You guys can go without me. I'm gonna take a day, I think.
Okay. It was nice to talk to you again.
Yeah. Nice.
I don't think she took it well.
It didn't seem like it.
Do you still want to meet too?
Yes, I do. Yeah, give me a day. I've been having some problems sending my recordings back to the deck, but I'll be free soon.
Yes, okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sure not everyone will be afraid of you.
Most of the founders aren't. And Cal seems to be fine with me. I know there are people out there, but it still hurts. She seems nice.
Yeah, she's alright. But, hey, you got me now, at the very least.
So I do.
I'll see you soon, Scraps. Good luck out here.
Thank you. To you as well.
Today's episode featured the voices of Jarell Yair Batista Chavez as the Scrapwarden, Ambrosia Jeske as Maybelle, and Akira Supalona Mix as Dr. Jaylin Glaslow. This episode was written, edited, and directed by Olivia Jeske, who also made our theme music and cover art. Follow us for updates on Instagram at The Soulbound Series or email us at thesoulboundseries@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.